Morning. Just complete few things today. Only very few things are left, so we will complete that today. Students, this week's offline lectures are very important. Okay, so please watch them. The very first thing which we are going to discuss today is about the math functions. All the math functions. So, where do we get these math functions from? Now, in Python, there are libraries. Second, my system is hanging a little bit. In Python, we have libraries. What are libraries? They are collections of books. That's what we know. Okay. But talking about libraries in any programming language, they are collections. They are collections of what? They are collections of functions. They are collections of many inbuilt functions. Many functions which have common tasks. Like for example, if I have to find the square root of a number, many places I would require this. If I have to find out the square root of a number, okay, if I have to find out a raised to the power b, although we have a separate operator in Python for that, but most programming languages don't have a separate operator for exponentiation. Okay, so for this purpose only we need for these are what these are common operations which for which again and again you would have to write a separate code. So instead of writing separate code again and again, it is always better that we make use of these library functions. So these library functions are also known as standard library functions. What are they known as? Standard library functions. They are inbuilt. Okay, so you don't need to write the definition, that is you don't need to write separate program for calculating square root. All you need to do is just use that function in your program. Okay, so we will be studying about a few commonly available mathematical functions which you can use in your expressions to form your Python expressions. So let's start with the very first one. So we have the very first one, seal. Everybody knows what is a seal. Okay, it comes from the word ceiling. If you take the case of a room, in a room you have floor and you have a ceiling. Similarly, whatever is in the middle, it would be like this. So whatever is in the middle, that's in between the floor and the ceiling. Similarly, on a number line also, if I just take a vertical number line, right? This is 0. Suppose I have any number, for example, 1.25. Okay, somewhere here I have 1, somewhere here I have 2. Then I have 3, 4, and so on. And here I have -1, -2, -3, and so on. Okay, so this is my number in question right now. What will be the ceiling of this number? 2 will be the ceiling and 1 will be the floor. Why ceiling? Why 2 is the ceiling? Because it is the smallest number on the number line which is not less than 1.25. I'm just going to write this. Those who have any doubt, you can note it down, students. What is a ceiling? Smallest number on the number line which is not less than the given number. Please write it down. This is about ceiling. So you can see that this ceiling, this 2 is the smallest number on the number line. That is, above this also we have some numbers which are greater than 2, but it is not less than 1.25. That is, it can be either equal to this or greater than this. So this 2, the ceiling of any number is greater than that given number, but it is the smallest number on the number line. Understood? So we will say it in this way, smallest number on the number line which is not less than the given number. Similarly, you have a floor value. So what will be floor? Largest number on the number line which is not greater than the given number. So this floor which you can see now, this is the largest number on the number line. Why? Because there are values which are less than this. But this is not greater than the given number. This is the given number. It cannot exceed the given number. But it is the largest value out of all the values which follow it on the number line. So 2 is the ceiling and 1 is the floor. So ceil function is used for printing the seal of a ceiling of a number. We will be doing these questions simultaneously on the idle also. I'm switching on my idle. Okay. Now before using any of these functions, it is important that you first write this statement in your program. Import math. That is because it is a third-party module. It's a separate package. It's a library which is stored in your hard disk. Okay. For running anything, you know that it has to be brought into the main memory, that is RAM. So when you write import math, this module is taken out of your hard disk and it is loaded into the memory. So all the functions within this, they come in the memory so that you can use it in your program. When you write the statement import math in your script mode, what will happen during the time of compilation, internal compilation of the program, it will be linked. This math module will be linked with your program, right? You know that Python is a compiled as well as interpreted language. Although compilation, the amount of compilation is less, but interpretation, it is more towards inclined towards interpreter based language. Okay, so when during compilation or internal compilation, when all the different modules are linked together, that is, if you are going to use the ceil function, you will have to link this math module along with your Python program. So for that purpose only, you have to write this import math statement. And now you can use all the functions. So how will you use the function? You will write math dot ceil. That is the name of the function, followed by the argument x. What is x? It can be any number, any floating point number. Okay, so if I write here math dot ceil, second, 1.25, what answer should I get? I should get 2. Similarly, if I write math dot ceil minus 1.25, what should be the ceiling of this number? Now minus 1.25 should be somewhere over here. Okay, this is minus 1.25. So its ceil will be minus 1. Minus 1. Smallest value on the number line which is not less than the given number. Okay. Understood this? Let's check it on the Python shell. So I'm going to write here first statement, import math. Nothing, you won't see any output after this. Okay. Now I'm writing math.ceil. You can see this the moment you type the first parenthesis, you are going to get a small description about this. So what is the description? Return the ceiling of x as an integral. So, and these values which are returned, they are always whole numbers, that is integers. So I write 1.34. Suppose I'll get the ceil as 2. I write math.ceil minus 4.5. What should I get? What value should I get over here?
-4.
Minus 4. Got it? Now, this is ceil function. Next, just related to this function, we have floor. How do we write it? Math dot floor and x, where x can be any floating point number. Okay. So I write now math dot floor 1.25. What should I get? I'll get 1.
2.
That is the value. Here over here, I'm talking about floor now. Okay. This is 1.25, right? So the value immediately below this, which is the greatest value, which is the largest value on the number line, which is not greater than this number. 1.25, you know that it is greater than 1. Okay. So 1 is a number which is greater than all the other numbers which follow it on the number line, but it will not exceed 1.25. Understood? So the floor of 1.25 is 1. Similarly, if I write math dot floor minus 1.25, what should I get? Now check this on the number line over here. What will be
-2.
the floor? Minus 2. Got it? So these are two very important functions. You can just note it down in your copy, students. So these are library functions which you can use in your program. Okay. Whenever you are working with Python expressions, you can use these programs. Oh, sorry, you can use these inbuilt functions. Okay. I hope it's done. Now I'm going to clear the screen. Next is SQRT function. By looking at it, tell me what should this function give us? It will give me the square root of x. Okay, let's try this out. So I'm going to just try them over here. Math, this will save our time also. Math.sqrt49 gives us 7.0. It will always return the result in float. Math.sqrt2 1.4142135. Okay, that number. Math.sqrt4 0. So it returns the square root of any number. Next is EXP. Now what does this return?
Exponent.
Yes, exponent raised to the power x. That is whatever, now e is a constant. So if I write here math.exp2, it will return the value of e raised to the power 2. And even you have a facility of printing the constant value e, math.e. So this math module provides you two constants also. One is math.e, which is exponent, and the other one is math.pi. If you want the value of pi, that is 22 upon 7, you will get that value from here also, math.pi. So this math.pi you can use in any of the programs where you had calculated the area and circumference of a circle and all those things. Okay. Please go on noting them down, students. Okay. Next is we have FABS. Math.FABS. What does this stand for? It will give me the magnitude of x, or we also say absolute value of x. That is the magnitude of a number without its sign. Okay. So if I write here math.FABS -4, it will give me what? 4.0. If I write math.FABS minus if I write 12.345, then it will give me 12.345. So this is what it is used for, giving the absolute value of the number. Then you have some functions like log, which will give you the natural logarithm of x. Although we don't use the log functions much. Okay. This is one variant, and the other variant is log x comma base. I have written base within square brackets because base is an optional argument. That is, even if you don't give base, if you simply write log x, it will only give you natural logarithm of x. Okay. And if you also write log x comma b, so this will give you the natural logarithm of x to the base b.
Voice is breaking and is not audible.
Hello, hello. Still not audible?
Ma'am, your voice is not coming. Ma'am, it's lagging.
Okay. Students, will you give me 30 seconds? I will leave the meeting and I'll come back. Okay?
It's breaking.
Yes, yes. So I'll just hang up and I'll rejoin. Don't leave the meeting. Okay? Yes, hello. Can you hear me, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I clear,
Yes,
audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Thank you. Maybe some network issue or something. So it's always a good idea to hang up and rejoin. Yes, so we were talking about log. So if you don't give any, if you give only one argument, that is x, so it will return the natural logarithm of x. That's it. And if you give another argument along with x, it will return the natural logarithm of x to the base b. Okay. Now there is one thing, if x is negative number, then you will get a domain error. And if x is 0, you will get a range error. So students, because we do not use this log function much, you will hardly find any use for the log function, although it is given, actually it is given for those people who are specifically into mathematical applications. Okay, or any scientific applications, anything of a scientific nature. Okay, so if you are specifically creating any kind of project where you need some logarithmic values, then for that purpose you can use this
Ma'am, your
function.
voice is again breaking.
Ma'am, no, your voice is clear.
Yes, your voice is clear.
Okay, let me take a small feedback from everyone. Just raise your hands. Those who are not able to hear my voice, just raise your hands. Are you seeing?
No,
It's clear?
ma'am, now I am able.
You're able to hear now? Okay. See, it happens because of the difference. Maybe network is proper. If it is like only one or two students are not able to hear my voice, but rest are able to hear, it means my network is okay. Okay, so if you feel that, because here most of you have given me a proper feedback that you are able to hear me, so those who are unable to hear me, or you can feel that my voice is lagging, although I keep sending feedback to Microsoft every week, every day. Okay, that is after every class I send a feedback to them. So you people also at the end of the meeting, please do send a feedback to Microsoft, because these days there are a lot many glitches on this platform, because this platform is undergoing some major upgradations. That's why maybe. So because of that only. Okay. So just give a feedback, and if the problem is severe, you can just do what I did just now. Hang up and rejoin quickly. But before doing that, inform me. Okay. Okay. So here we are. So this log function you will hardly require. So let's just run this and see. So we are writing here math.log, just any value I am giving. So I'm getting its value. Math.log 4, 2 or 4, 3, I'm getting this value. That is log of 4 to the base 3. And there is another one, a related function for this log 10, which gives me the logarithm, base 10 logarithm of any number. Same for that also, all the log, both the log functions. If x is negative, domain error will be there. If x is 0, range error will be there. So this log you can just skip for the time being for your half yearly. Do you want to write this, everyone? Take some time and quickly note them down. In the meantime, I'll just start with the other one over here. We have a very interesting function here, pow. Okay, or I will write it in this way, math.pow. Now this math.pow, it takes two arguments. One is a and one is b. And it returns a raised to the power b. The same way what you used, the same thing what this exponentiation operator in Python does for us. Okay, this is the exponentiation operator in Python. So just what this exponentiation operator does for us, pow function does exactly the same thing for us. Now, students, this exponentiation operator is not easily available in other programming languages like C, C++. We didn't have any operator like this. Prior to teaching you people Python, I used to teach C++. Okay, so in C++, students either use, we also had a pow function there. We didn't have to use it along with math. Simply we used to use pow, but we had to write a statement like this, hash include math.h, where math.h was a header file. So we had to include math.h and we had to write pow a comma b. So this would return the value that is a raised to the power b. But here you have two options. You have the pow function also, and you have the exponentiation operator also. So it's up to you what you want to use in Python. So I'm giving you 1 minute time. Please note down all these things and I will come to the next set of functions. Now you have
what is the
functions. What? Now you will have functions on almost all types of data types. You will have separate functions for strings, for lists, for tuples, for dictionaries, which we would be studying in the dedicated chapters for those data types. If you write it, then please let me know. Just give me a yes so that I could move on to the next set of functions.
Ma'am, written.
Written? Okay, good. So I'm going to delete the screen, students. Next is a very nice function. 3 functions in one go: sine, cos, and tan. Oh, sorry. Where x should be a value in radians. You might have studied in maths. X should be a value in radians. Okay, so you can get the sine of a number, cosine of a number, and tangent of a number. And if you want to, whatever value you are getting, you will be getting that value, you will be getting that answer in radians only. So if you want to convert this value or in radians into degrees, for that also you have a function math.degrees x, where x is in radians. And you have a function math.radians, which takes an argument y, where y is in degrees. Understood that? So x, you can convert radians into degrees using the degrees function, and you can convert degrees into radians using the radians function. So again, these are trigonometric functions which you usually won't require until and unless you are working on a specifically trigonometric centric project or anything which requires a lot of mathematical calculation. Okay, so still these are some of the commonly used functions which you will be using. Now what we are going to do is we will be solving some exercises. We will be converting some mathematical expressions into Python expressions. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. So you have one expression as this. How will you express this expression in the form of a Python expression? We have, you can see there is a square root. So I can use math.sqrt. And within this, you have multiple options. Either you write a into a, or you write a raised to the power 2, or you write math.pow a comma 2. So either of these 3 ways you can apply, right? So for purposes of simplicity, I am simply going to write it like this. Done. There is an alternative to this. Now, whatever you are writing inside, I already told you one of these 3 ways you can apply. So you can already see this value over here, right? Now SQRT. So what you can do is you can raise it to the power 1 divided by 2. So that will also mean what? Under root, that is square root of a square plus b square plus c square. So whatever you write, you can, I'll be uploading an online lecture tomorrow. And in that online lecture, I have listed out the various variants, various ways in which you can express this one expression. Using your exponentiation operator also, multiplication operator also, and the SQRT function also. Okay, so you can use either of these ways for writing these expressions. Now I'm giving you all one question. Please do it and tell me. What will I get for this? How will you write this? You can use the chat box for doing this, because here you will be using all those keyboard functions or those keyboard characters. Okay. And send me your answers through chat. Done? Okay, let's do it. And those who have written, they can check. P plus Q divided by. Now you can see this divided by. So divided by R plus S raised to the power 4. So I can write R plus S raised to the power 4 like this. Or this R plus S I can write as math dot of R plus S comma 4. Check your answers. Next one I'm giving. Do it and send me your answers. Yes, come on, tell me, completed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I can see. Okay, Shlok, there is one error. Okay, everybody look here very carefully. 2 minus. Now you can see this complicated expression over here. YE. Now students, in Python or any programming language, if you have YE, it will mean Y multiplied by E. So you have to write it like this. Okay, on pen and paper, it is understandable that there is multiplication between them. But in Python, you are actually giving instructions to computer, which is a dumb machine. You have to tell the computer what operation you are doing. So you will be writing Y into. Now for E, you can use the exp function, math.exp, that is E raised to the power 2y, it will give me. Okay. Now within this also 2 multiplied by y plus 4y. Sorry, not 4y, plus 4 multiplied by y. So wherever you find expressions like these, you have to include a multiplication sign over there. An alternative for this is 2 minus y into. Now I can also write it like this. Math dot e raised to the power 2 multiplied by y plus 4 multiplied by y. I'm using the constant t over here. So y into constant t raised to the power 2 multiplied by y. Or this same thing I can write as, wait, I'm just going to remove some parts from here so that I can write. So this same thing I can write as y into, now I'll write math dot pow, okay, then math dot e, comma, 2 into y plus 4 into y. So you can see three alternative methods. One is this, and one is this one. Did you get it, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Next time giving you another one. Very simple. What are we going to use over here? Can you see two bars over here? That is for absolute value. So I can use math dot f abs. Now e square is given, so I can write math dot exp 2 minus x. Now this thing I can also write math dot e raised to the power 2 using the exponentiation operator, or I can use the pow function also, just like I did for the previous one. So that's up to us, right? But it should, whichever alternative you use, it should be equal to this expression. Got it? Now next we are going to do, we are going to revisit the logical operators. So we are going to revisit the logical operators. We have three logical operators: and, or, and not, right? And, or, not. So out of which we are going to see the or operator. Now first thing, what does or say? If x and y are two expressions, on either side of or, on either side of or, then if either of them is true, the entire result will be true. We know this one. As an example, let's see, I have three values. Now I write here A less than B or B less than C. What is A less than B? 5 less than 6 or 6 less than 7. So 5 is less than 6, this is true. 6 less than 7 is also true. So both are true. So the result is true, right? If I change the expression, what is A? 5 less than 6 or 7 less than 6. So 5 less than 6 is true, but 7 less than 6 is false. But you have one true over here. Even if one true is there, your result will be true. So OR works on this principle. If I have two expressions, x and y, x or y. So here I have false, false, true, true. Here I have false, true, false, true. False or false. This will only give me false. Rest everywhere I will get true. Why? Because there is at least one true. Right? This is in case when x and y are two separate expressions on either side of OR. What if instead of having those expressions, you have literals on either sides? That is, those literals could be integers, they could be float. Normally, you should avoid float because of some internal representation problem. They could be strings, they could be Boolean values. Okay, so any values they could be. That is literals. So now for literals, how this OR operator works. So please note it down. If x or y is a logical expression containing two literals x and y, then if x is true, then x is returned. If x is false, then y is returned. So please note this one down, this rule down in your copy. If x or y is a logical expression containing two literals, x or y. Now x or y, x and y are not expressions like these. They are simply literals, that is 5 or 6. इस टाइप का अगर आपके पास कोई expression आया where 5 and 6 are two literals separated by OR, how will the OR operator work? So for that purpose, if x, suppose this is x and this is y, so if x is true, 5x will be returned. If x is false, y will be returned. And we will see some options of some examples of this now. So you can take the screenshot. I'm just going to explain this. So I'm going to create a table here. If I write 0 or 0, what will I get? See, first thing you should remember this. Any value 0 is considered as false. And any non-zero value is considered as true. So here we have 0, here also we have 0, right? So if I just check, first one is false, fine. It will move to the second one, it will return this 0. If I write 0 or 8, first one is 0, that is it is false. Now this 8 is what? It is a non-zero value. So its value will be true. Because first one is false, it will move to the second one. We will get the answer what? 8. Why? You can just match it with this. If the first expression is true, we know that for OR operation, one true is enough. उसको पहली बार में ही true मिल गया, काम खत्म. It will simply print the first one. It will simply evaluate the first expression. That is the left hand side of OR and exit. Okay. If the left hand side is false, it will move to the right hand side to check whether the right hand side is also false or true. Hence, it is going to return the right hand side in case the left hand side is false. Next is I am giving you another value. You tell me the answer. What will this give? 5 or 0.0?
True.
No dear, not true. It will return the result in the form of literal only. We are seeing the second variant of OR when there are literals, not expressions. These are literals, that is constants. 5 is what? It is a non-zero value, so it is true. 0.0 amounts to 0 only, it is
Ma'am,
false.
5 will be returned.
Yes, first one is true, baat khatam, 5 will be returned. This is true, and you know that for or one true is enough, so it will return the first one. Next is, we'll just complete this. Hello or empty string. What will I get? Now, hello is a string which contains some characters. Even if there is one valid character, even if there is a space, space is also a valid character. Got it? So this is what? True. And here what you can see is an empty string. Just two quotes, two single quotes, one after the other. Means बीच में कुछ भी नहीं है quotes के. So that is an empty string. So that is what? False. What will I get? What will be printed?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello will be printed. If I write what will be printed?
Good jobs.
Good job.
Yes, good job will be printed. Because this is an empty string and this will be false. I write here A or J. जल्दी बोलो.
AJ.
A, only A. A is true. J is also true. The first thing, if the first operand, the left hand side is true, it will blindly return the left hand side. It won't move, it won't check, evaluate the second one. Because OR says either one of the two sides, if it is true, return the true value. Understood? So you have to also keep in mind, if there are expressions on either side, that is relational expressions on either side, then the result will be in true or false. Okay, and please students, that you have for this, you have to solve the data handling part of your practical book. There it will be very much clear to you. If you solve those questions, it will be, this concept will become clear to you. Okay, our next class is day after tomorrow, so we still have time. We will just cover AND operation and we will solve some HOTS questions. Okay, so our portion for half yearly is completed. You will be mostly getting these conceptual questions, students, because you are going to get 40 marks of full MCQ. So 40 marks full MCQ is there. There is nothing to learn or mug up. Okay, all you have to do is understand the concept and solve as many HOTS questions as you can, right? So with this we end today's class. Stopping the recording.